Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Vought, it's good to see you. You know, these hearings are important. I kind of view them as a job interview. I got to tell you, though, kind of curious about your background. Dozen years on the Hill, government bureaucrat, right-wing think tank. Seems to me you're a total product of what MAGA folks call the swamp. I'm not sure how that swamp expertise is going to help you in this job. I'm a little different than most folks here. I actually run a business, Meta Payroll, managed an operation. You've had no private sector experience. And I look then at what you've said from just the management standpoint. It seems like what you want to do is how many federal workers can you get to quit? How many federal work offices can you go out and relocate? And I got to tell you, your words, quote, "We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected because they are increasingly viewed as villains. We want to put them in trauma." I got to tell you, you want to be OMB and help oversee this workforce, and you want to put the workforce in trauma? Sir, that would be management malpractice. I appreciate the fact of what you've done in the past. Let's look at your record. It's an interview. 2019, you helped move the BLM out. 170% increase in vacancies at the BLM. GAO, the folks supposed to be independent, said that move dramatically impaired its ability to serve the American people. Another failure that some of us pointed out. Last time you said, let's move part of the Department of Agriculture out. 2 bureaus. Led to 40% and 60% reduction in effectiveness. Then we get to your Magnus. At least I'll give you credit for putting it down in writing. Project 2025 and that handbook. Sir, I do appreciate the fact, one of the things you said, which was you think it's important for the federal government to keep our nation safe. Probably the most important thing I've done in this job is my work with the intelligence community. I'm chair and vice chair now. We got thousands of men and women who work in the intelligence community without a lot of fanfare. You realize, of course, I hope, that to become a CIA agent, it takes about a year to get a security clearance. You aware of that?
Yes, Senator.
All right. So in your Project 25, Magnus, you put forward the idea that somehow breaking up the CIA and moving it around the country would make our nation more safe? Do you not understand, sir, that if President Trump, by having the intelligence community close to him, to have ability from folks from NSA, to CIA, the Pentagon, the FBI in this region, your idea of let's somehow go on this ideological jihad to break up the intelligence community's effectiveness? I would ask you, sir, can you show any evidence that somehow we would make our nation safer if you put your political litmus test and this idea of bringing trauma to the federal workforce by taking the intelligence community, which has been supported on a bipartisan basis year in and year out, and somehow breaking it up and spreading it hither and yon just for a political purpose? How does that make our nation safer?
Senator, I never proposed that, and the president has disassociated himself from Project 2025. It's a mischaracterization of my role.
Okay, good. We're here on the record. You're going to commit to make sure that, I would argue you have to make a business case before you start breaking up the government. I'm all for effectiveness. But you're going to be willing here to commit not to undermine our national intelligence community by arbitrarily trying to break them up and spread them around just because you want to blow up the federal workforce in this region?
Yes, Senator. There's no policy process that the Trump administration had done that's producing arbitrary results. And let me speak to the question that you raised with regard to my comments about the bureaucracy. They were specifically in reference to the weaponized bureaucracy that we've seen certainly at the DOJ.
And so you are the arbiter of who's weaponized and who's not? You get, again, I hope my colleagues will raise, I think, your completely irresponsible actions on so-called Schedule F. You know, we put a civil service in place. But I urge you, sir, if you become in this position, think long and hard about the men and women of the national security and the intelligence community before you go on some political jihad of trying to score points by simply trying to break up an operation that actually functions better because of their close collaboration. And your comments about the federal workforce, I find disqualifying on this basis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.